We've often talked about the obvious changes Arne Slot has brought to Liverpool's style of play, like the more patient build-up, the press baiting, Gravenberch's new role as the number 6 and so on. But beyond these big shifts, Slot and his staff have also made subtle tweaks, whether in the team's overall structure or in specific player roles. Now most people can spot the major changes, but these smaller details, you either need a sharp eye or you've got to rewatch our games 2 or 3 times to even catch them. Well, that's exactly what we did, so you guys don't have to, and in today's video we'll break down those tiny adjustments that are making Liverpool unstoppable. From Van Dijk's new approach with the ball to the behind the scenes work of Szoboszlai, we'll discuss all of it, but don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more Liverpool deep dives. As we mentioned earlier, one of the biggest changes Arne Slot has introduced is the more patient build-up phases. There's a clear day and night difference compared to last season, where we averaged 74.1 attempted long balls per 90 minutes. This season we're still targeting direct balls, but only when the opportunity presents itself, rather than relying on the same tactic repeatedly. After 6 Premier League games, Liverpool now ranks among the 5 teams with the slowest build-up play, as we've started to take more time with our passing and rely less on constant long balls. This shift was expected with Arne Slot's arrival, given his obsession with control, something we struggled with last season, resulting in end-to-end games almost every week. Of course, this change was made possible by the players' technical abilities, the fluid build-up structures, and one more small but crucial detail involving our captain, Virgil van Dijk. Let's start with some stats. We're all familiar with that beautiful diagonal pass Virgil plays to find Mohamed Salah on the right wing, right? Well, that pass is a part of our play this season. Just look at our recent example when Virgil set Salah free against Bologna. But overall, it's clear that Van Dijk's use of long balls has decreased compared to last season. Last campaign, Van Dijk acted like a catapult, averaging 9.21 long passes per 90 minutes, putting him in the 81st percentile among Premier League centre-backs. For short passes, he averaged 30.93 per game, which is a solid number. But this season, his passing stats are quite different. Van Dijk's long ball attempts have dropped to an average of 7 per game. While it's not a huge decrease, it's enough to see him fall into the 61st percentile among Premier League centre-backs in this area. On the flip side, his short passes have gone up, and he now ranks in the 87th percentile, quite an improvement compared to last season. This shift is a direct result of a more patient build-up phase and fluid shapes Arne Slot has introduced. Whether we're in a 4-2-4 or a 3-2-5 shape, Van Dijk now has more passing options, whether it's to Ibrahima Konate or Andy Robertson on his right and left, or forward into the double pivot. With players constantly rotating, creating passing lanes and pulling opposition players out of position, Van Dijk has more time and space on the ball. He's able to circulate possession from side to side or disguise short passes to break through the lines and find the midfielders. It's simple. Arne Slot has put a system in place that plays to the strengths of his players and vice versa. But it doesn't stop with Van Dijk. Ibrahima Konate is also benefiting, and he's using one of his most underrated skills to great effect this season. This brings us to the press baiting approach, which was on full display against the league's most efficient press so far, Bournemouth. In that game, the Reds kept circulating possession in our own third, using short, quick passes while taking more than one touch. The aim was to bait Bournemouth's press, drag their players out of position, and create space behind for our players to exploit. This approach was key to all 3 of our goals in that game. Konate directly found Diaz with a long ball for the first, Salah for the second, and then Darwin for the third. This highlights how Arne Slot is maximising Konate's progressive passing by setting up the right conditions for him to use his strengths. In fact, Konate currently leads all Premier League players in the XG build-up with 6.38. This stat measures the total XG of every possession a player is involved in, excluding key passes and assists. It really shows just how important Konate's contributions have been. It's these little tweaks that are getting the best out of already great players, and in turn helping the system work more efficiently to produce the best results each game. Now, we've already talked about 2 players who are benefiting from the patient playstyle, but what about others who are performing better thanks to some changes in their roles? Let's start with Trent Alexander-Arnold. You might be wondering what's new. Trent has always been our right back, so what's so different about his role now? Well, let us explain. We all remember the good old days when Trent would bomb down the right flank, allowing Salah to cut inside and smash in those beautiful strikes. But over time, especially last season, we saw Trent make fewer overlapping runs as he was tasked with moving inside and playing more as an inverted midfielder. Now, don't get us wrong. If Trent can drift into the middle and receive the ball facing play, with space and away from the opposition, he becomes one of the best in the world at slicing through defenses with his incredible passing ability. But restricting him in that central role too often limits his impact. In fact, as you can see from this heat map last season, he was stuck in the middle of the pitch more frequently than not. This season, however, things look different because we're getting the best of both worlds. Trent is still primarily operating as a right back, but now he has the freedom to roam. You'll see him invert into the pivot alongside Gravenberch to receive the ball and progress it, but he's also pushing high and wide, or even into the right half space. A great example of this was his assist against Wolves, where his wide positioning allowed him to receive Mo's pass perfectly. And guess what? Trent is back to making those overlapping runs to pull defenders away from Mo Salah when the Egyptian cuts inside. Salah's goal against Bologna shows this perfectly. Trent immediately made an overlapping run as soon as Mo received the ball wide. The difference is clear. When you look at Trent's heat map this season, he's no longer consistently stuck inverting into midfield, but instead has the freedom to choose the right moments to do so. Another simple yet effective tweak to get the best out of everything Trent offers, right? Now let us move to another player who's been under a lot of scrutiny since the start of the season. Some of it's justified due to his lack of end product, but when you look closely, it's clear that he's the engine of this Liverpool side. Yes, we're talking about Szoboszlai. So let's dive into the changes the Hungarian has experienced. Last season, Szoboszlai was deployed as the right-sided number 8, perfectly filling Henderson's role and bringing back that intensity out of possession, especially noticeable in the first 10 games of the campaign. This season, Szoboszlai's role hasn't changed drastically in terms of responsibilities. He's still tasked with running all over the pitch, putting in tackles, and being a threat in transition with his explosiveness and pace. But instead of being restricted to the right side like last season, Szoboszlai now has the freedom to roam across both flanks. He's operating as a number 10, positioned ahead of the double pivot and behind the attacking trio. Just compare his heat maps from the 2 seasons and you'll see how much his positioning has evolved. In this number 10 role, Szoboszlai has become a second ball monster, using his excellent positioning and intensity to recover possession when we go direct. He's also leading the press, often taking up the second striker position in slots 4-4-2 or 4-2-4 structure out of possession. And let's not overlook his performances with the ball. They've been much better than some are giving him credit for. Szoboszlai currently ranks 5th in the league for progressive runs, showing his ability to break through the lines. His passing has also been impressive, ranking high among midfielders for key passes. It's safe to say that Slot has settled in perfectly at Anfield. He's getting the best out of an already exceptional players like Van Dijk and Trent, while also helping players like Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Konate step up to the next level. And let's not forget Salah, Jota and Luis Diaz, who we've already dedicated a video to, all benefiting from the subtle tweaks Slot has been making. His ability to profile and maximize players' strengths has been very impressive. Now don't get us wrong, we're not claiming that Arne Slot is the best manager in the world or that he's getting everything spot on. There are definitely areas he still needs to work on, like maintaining pressure in the opposition's half and being more compact without the ball. But there's no denying the impact he's had, especially when you consider he's working with the squad from Klopp's team last season. So what do you think of our season so far? And aside from the obvious pick of Ryan Gravenberch, who do you think the best performers have been? Most importantly, what other tweaks have you noticed in our style of play? Do let us know your thoughts in the comments, and that does, guys, bring us to the end of today's video. As always, please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Liverpool content. Thank you, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.